Today on Locked On Red Wings, Pavel Datsyuk was officially inducted into the Hall of Fame on Monday. Is a jersey retirement next?
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. Scotty's the host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News, while I am the color commentator for Oakland University ACHA D1 men's hockey. It's kind of a mouthful when you put it all out there like that, but it is a long title. Scotty, happy Wednesday. I know we took I think a well-deserved extra day off yesterday. Are you feeling refreshed to talk some Red Wings hockey?
Yeah.
Yes.
I do two of these, so yeah, I don't know if I really felt the full refreshment, but yes, back ready. Honestly, to this hockey schedule is ridiculous. We have Wednesday and then back-to-backs on weekends, 2 weeks in a row, which is really stupid and annoying for our purposes, certainly. But just ready to watch the Wings play hockey again, man. Those last two games, I'm really chomping at the bit for them to get back out there, just because the last two games were actually really close and competitive games. They just lost both of them. So I would really like for them to play like that against a not very good Pens team and hopefully walk out of there with a comfortable win. But, now that I say that, they'll lose 4-2 and it'll be the worst game of the year. So
Right. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in segment 3. We'll preview the Penguins game. From here on out to the rest of the month, I think they play hockey every other day with the exception of 1 week where they have 2 days off. So it's going to be a crammed schedule the rest of the month because, God forbid, they pepper a game in those 2-3 day breaks. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you just win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. All right, Scotty, so on today's docket, we want to talk about Datsyuk here first and foremost. That's kind of the big news. I mean, we've known it's been going to be happening. I think we mentioned at the end of Sunday's episode as well. For quite a while, Datsyuk was, elected to the Hall of Fame. They celebrated him in the Toronto game, and now he was officially enshrined forever in hockey's greatest honor on Monday. The real question here is, obviously to celebrate Datsyuk's legacy for us, our generation, Scotty, me, a young millennial, and you, an older Gen Z, Datsyuk and Zetterberg were the guys we watched growing up. We were lucky enough to catch the tail end of Yzerman. Lidstrom's prime was literally his entire career. He never came out of his prime. But Datsyuk and Zetterberg were our Red Wings. These were the guys we watched. So watching him get inducted into the Hall of Fame was super cool and super deserved. And, it just felt like one of those. You felt so happy to see the guy that you watched have so much success in the NHL and was one of the faces of the franchise make it to the Hall. But also it's a weird feeling as somebody who grew up watching Datsyuk play, being like, oh my goodness, the guy I watched growing up is now retired and out of the game long enough to be in the Hall of Fame. It's kind of a sobering moment too.
for sure, I think, and honestly, this is a thought that I know a lot of our listeners that are also Tiger fans shared when Trammell got in. It's like, okay, well, why isn't the other one in, right? Like, why is Lou Whitaker not in the Hall of Fame? Why is Henrik Zetterberg not in the Hall of Fame? I think that is also a very, very prevalent kind of thought that, the whole weekend and when he was being honored and everything, it was great. And obviously he deserves his moment individually. He is one of the best Red Wings to ever put on the winged wheel. And like you said, for our generation, he really is, one of our Red Wings. Like he is the guy that we grew up on. So he deserves all that moment. This isn't me taking away anything from him, but it also, in the back of your mind, you're just like, man, like what, like Z doesn't get this though. You know what I mean? It's right. That's definitely a thought I have too, but I agree with you. I think definitely makes you feel your age a little bit when your childhood, hero for people that are our age is is gone from the game long enough to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. But he also looks pretty dang good, man.
I'm glad you brought that up.
What is he doing Wednesday night? I'm thinking maybe 4C or something like that. Maybe ease him back into the swing of things, man. He's looking like he could still go toe to toe. I don't know.
He has aged wonderfully. I thought the same thing too when I saw the videos of the induction ceremony, and also when they honored him against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, I'm like, he does not look like he's aged a day. Like, I don't think there's a gray hair on that head.
No, it looks the exact same. I remember what he looked like the lasting image from the end of his career is when the trade to Arizona happened, and right. He looks exactly the same as he did when that announcement happened that they were gonna send his contract to Arizona or whatnot. You can still play with him in Chell that year, by the way, with Arizona. He is on the Coyotes. In what year of Chell is that? 16, 17? 17?
Had to have been.
Yeah,
it would have been 7. No. Did he? No, it couldn't have been because they retired. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think because they made the playoffs 1 year without Datsyuk, and that was 2016.
Right.
That was the first year with Franz Nielsen.
Yep.
So it would have been NHL 16 that he would have been on the Coyotes.
Yeah. That was just, it's funny. Like that makes sense actually, because that was my freshman year of college, and we were all watching, in the dorms, like rooting for the streak to continue and rooting for them to get 25 straight years and whatnot. And then we'd play Chell, and somebody would always pick the Coyotes and just dice with like old over the hill Datsyuk on the Coyotes, which was always a funny thing. But yeah, man, it was a really, really cool weekend, and cool to see him get interviewed by all the media that used to interview him and whatnot. It was really cool.
Correction. You're right. I'm wrong. He did play in 15-16 with the Red Wings. The last year the Red Wings made the playoffs was his last year in the NHL. Then they traded him. So you were right. It would have been NHL 17. So you were correct. Yeah. I mean, the next point after that, like, because I'm not going to go and like, what was your favorite Pavel Datsyuk moment? Like, come on. We don't need to go down that road.
We've done that, I feel like.
We have. I think we talked about it when he got inducted. Named to the Hall of Fame. Right. He's a 2-time Cup winner, 4-time Lady Byng, 3-time Selke. I mentioned this on Sunday's episode. 918 points in 953 games. He was a slam dunk. But you brought it up, like, okay, Zetterberg's been passed over twice now, and he doesn't have quite the hardware that Datsyuk does, but he has a good amount of hardware in his own right. He's played over 1,000 games, which is
he also
a
has
marker.
So much of the national stuff too.
Right.
Zetterberg does.
Oh yeah, all the triple gold club, if I can say it, and all that. He had over 1,000 games played, which Datsyuk did not meet, of course, by his own merit because he decided to leave. 1-time Cup winner. He second in the Calder voting. He got snubbed that year. He won a Conn Smythe, which is playoff MVP in 2008. He won a Clancy Memorial Trophy. Like, he has hardware, and he has more hardware than some of the people that got elected to the Hall of Fame these last couple of years. Like Daniel Alfredson, for example, never even won a Stanley Cup. And, that's a team trophy all in all. But people do use it as a barometer to get in. So I feel like with Datsyuk getting named, I can understand the argument that Datsyuk was first ballot over Henrik Zetterberg. But I think with Datsyuk getting named just makes it a matter of time before Zetterberg gets in. Because Zetterberg does have the hardware to back up the performance he had on the ice. He was just not as flashy of a player as Datsyuk was. But he was so consistent in his own right. Like, that guy was the Rock of that team.
Yeah, the bar for the Hall of Fame should not be flashy as Pavel Datsyuk.
Right. It's not.
Right. That is right. Exactly. That is a very high bar that not very many people in the history of the game have managed to achieve. So yeah, no, I think I would love to think it's inevitable. I do think that it is inevitable, but the fact that it's like I really thought it was this year. Like, it just made all the sense in the world. Okay, you don't think he's a first ballot? Fine. He'll get it in his second try, and he'll get in with Datsyuk. Like, it makes sense. This is perfect. And then it didn't happen. I thought that was a huge missed opportunity if he's going to get it eventually. But I do think he will.
Yeah, I do think he will too. And I mean, that brings us to the second question too, right? And I don't want to spend too much time on it because we have actual hockey to talk about. But, how far along down the line is it until we see a jersey retirement? Will we see a jersey retirement? And I want to talk about that briefly in segment 2 before we get into how Detroit Red Wings have one of the best and one of the worst pairs of defensemen in the NHL. So stay tuned for that in segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. Can't talk today. Going too fast. Got to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save 50% off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $35 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code NHL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NHL and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code NHL. Minimum purchase may apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by SelectQuote. The World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics. The world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. Other life insurance brokers offer impersonal, one-size-fits-all policies that may cost you more and cover you less, while SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents work for you to tailor a life insurance policy for your individual needs in as little as 15 minutes. And these policies are more affordable than you think. You could get coverage for up to $1 million for as little as $20 per month. Head to SelectQuote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Get the right life insurance for you for less at SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL. That's SelectQuote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty, I just wanted to talk real quickly. He's in the Hall of Fame. Pavel Datsyuk's in the Hall of Fame. It feels like the natural next step is to get his jersey retired by the Red Wings. Now, I know even though he's in the Hall of Fame and even though he has all this hardware, he didn't quite have the pedigree of the career that guys like Nick Lidstrom had with 7 Norris trophies, or Steve Yzerman had with all those 50-goal and 100-point seasons. But he's still in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's still one of the NHL's 100 best players to ever play the game, and he still has a bunch of hardware to knock it to back him up as well. I feel like he's earned jersey retirement status, and I feel they kind of already have his number pseudo-retired, a la guys like Konstantinov and Fedorov, whose jerseys aren't officially retired, but people haven't worn their numbers since. I feel like at this point, the next natural step and deserved step for somebody like Pavel Datsyuk is to hang 13 in the rafters.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, and again, maybe it's a generational thing. Like, this is who we grew up on. This was one of our great Red Wings that we idolized growing up. But I really do think it's a slam dunk. And I think the Hall of Fame induction makes it kind of like unnegotiable. Like it's very difficult to rebuttal it now that he is in the Hall of Fame, right? Like, it's like, right. Okay, you're talking about a Hall of Famer and one of the best players of all time that won a ring here. Like that's
a career Red Wing.
Right. Yeah. Never played for another team is also a really big deal for the Wings. Like, he really does kind of check every box other than, again, like having 7 hearts or whatever. like obviously, you compare him to some of the other guys that are in the rafters with the Wings and you can get overwhelmed. But yeah, he's one of the best players to ever play the game. And like, to me, I think it's so ridiculous that like we have the unofficially retired numbers, but we're not going to actually retire them. Like,
yeah,
hey, dude, like let's just let's just actually retire them. No one's gonna wear them anyways. Like I just think that's, if no one's gonna wear it ever again anyway, then yeah, let's have a ceremony and honor him.
Well, I agree. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Like, it just feels like the natural next step. And I think it's going to come. I understand it didn't happen as in, like, when Nick Lidstrom retired, it was like the next week. They're like, yeah, we're going to retire him on this.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It
was
we
literally
knew.
right after. Yeah.
Like, that was like the best defenseman to ever play the game, if not like second best, depending on who you are. But Red Wings fans, we were all in agreement. The best. He's the best. But I think it's going to come. I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. They're not going to wait until he's 90 like they did to Red Kelly, who deserved to have his number hung in the rafters with the Red Wings, and they just waited for forever. I think it's going to be a lot sooner than that.
Yeah,
but I just don't know how soon. Scotty, with that being said, I feel like we should move on now to talk about some modern Red Wings. Modern Red Wings problems and positives. Positives and problems with the Detroit Red Wings. This is not anything new.
The new segment name.
Positives and problems. This is not something that is new to you guys, but kind of just another analytical point to help put the cherry on top of the conversation. One, Moritz Seider and Simon Edvinsson are one of the best defensive pairs in the NHL. And point two, Ben Chiarot and Jeff Petrie are one of the worst pairs in the NHL. And here's the data I have to back it up. And if you follow me on Blue Sky or X, you would have seen this. The Moritz Seider and Simon Edvinsson pair, if you filter on Money Puck, defensive pairs only, expected goals with minimum ice time of 100 minutes played together, they rank 9th in expected goals percentage. As a defensive pair, Scotty, they have 61.2% expected goals percentage. That is an expected goals for of 8.2 and an expected goals against of 20th. Or I'm sorry, that's where they ranked 20th, of 5.2. Sorry, I read that wrong.
Whoa, 20. Whoa.
They ranked 20th with a 5.2 expected goals against. Yeah. That gives them the 9th best expected goals percentage at 61.2%. That is fantastic, especially considering, Simon Edvinsson is basically, for all intents and purposes, a rookie. I know he's not technically a rookie, but he's functionally a rookie. To have been thrown on the top pair with Seider's deployments, for them to be playing as well as they are, is incredible. But then on the flip side of that, you have one of the worst pairs in hockey as your second pair with Ben Chiarot and Jeff Petrie, with the 8th worst expected goals for percentage of defensive pairs who have played at least 100 minutes together. They have the 8th worst expected goals for percentage at 40.4%. That is a expected goals for of 3.8, which is the 3rd worst in the NHL, 3rd fewest. And they have an expected goals against, if I can find it here, of 5.6, which is 39th. So really the big problem with that pair is their expected goals for. They don't produce any offense, which is not surprising, right? One of the things we constantly praise this team for as a whole is their ability to knock pucks away from and get them out of high danger areas. Chiarot and Petrie, for the most part, do that fine as well. Clogging up the middle is the one thing that they do okay. But the problem is they cannot win those puck battles. They're not winning possession of the puck, and they're not transitioning up the ice. How many goals have we seen this pair give up because they are unable to get that puck up and out of the zone and in transition? That's where they really struggle. And then they just provide, further beyond that, because they can't get out. They don't get opportunities in the offensive zone. So the question really here is, how much longer is it acceptable, Scotty? And can we continue to have this be acceptable, to have the best top pair, one of the best top pairs in hockey, but also have one of the worst second pairs?
Yeah, well, so I think the real question here is, are you willing to break up one of the best top pairs?
Absolutely not.
Help. Okay. Well, then there you go. Like that legitimately with these numbers, like that's the only question is like, are you willing to split up Edvinsson and Seider to make the second pair not a complete albatross? And like, I'm not either. I agree with you. I think it's way more valuable to have more time on the top pair that gets the most time on ice, gets the toughest deployments, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's way more important and valuable to have that together than it is to split them up and have two, like mediocre pairs at best or whatever they end up being. And on top of that, as I begged for last week, you can shuffle the second pair without making it or without breaking up the top pair, I guess is my point. Like you can, right? You can shuffle that up and we can throw Aljo up there. We can do stuff with Gustafsson. Like Hull obviously played second pair last game. Like there's a lot you can do there to make the second pair just not Petrie and Sherratt.
Right. And like, that's the thing is we've seen Seider and Edvinsson separate, right? That's how we started the season. And we saw that both the top pair and the second pair suffered for it. Like, yes, the second pair was marginally better with Edvinsson there, but nobody can handle playing those minutes with Seider on the top pair. And Ben Sherratt, like, it dragged that pair down. Like, it made the top pair substantially worse, especially with how they were trying to use it. So you need to have Edvinsson on the top pair to have that successful and dominant top pair that they're having, especially given the deployments that they're given. I mean, how often do I say Seider gets the toughest deployments in hockey, and now Edvinsson, by extension, gets the toughest deployments in hockey? Yeah. And they're thriving. 60% expected goals for percentage as a pair with over 100 minutes played together. I think it's like 171 minutes played together now at this point. Like, they're doing well. You can't break that pair up because they'll suffer. The whole team will suffer for it. But that second pair, like, and we talked about it, the problem is you don't have a good option. Like, we are in agreement they need to try something. They did give Petrie the night off after a particularly rough game against the, downtrodden Chicago Blackhawks. But Justin Holl didn't really do, he was fine, but I don't think he looked like a second pair caliber defenseman either. That's the problem, is as much shade as we give Ben Sherratt and Jeff Petrie, I'm not confident there's an answer outside of those two either. Yeah. And I'm all for just, throwing crap at the wall and seeing if something eventually sticks, because you can't give Edvinsson and Seider more difficult minutes. They're already getting the toughest. You can't up the difficulty of their minutes. That's not possible. 60.
Who needs pairs, honestly? Just have them be the only D unit. Yeah.
Like, that's how alarming it is that they're getting the toughest minutes in the league. So your second pair, by extension, must be getting softer minutes too. I mean, I understand the third pair is super sheltered. So like that, I'm sure the second pair is also getting some tough minutes. But the fact that with the toughest deployed top pair in the league, the second pair is still getting caved in that much, that is a red flag. And that's not just a Jeff Petrie and Ben Sherratt issue. That's not just a Derek Lalonde issue. That is a pro scouting. That is a roster construction. That is a Steve Yzerman issue as well.
Agreed.
And going into a game against Pittsburgh, which I guess great time to transition into that, and a road trip against some softer opponents. This is, like, in my eyes, kind of a real gut check, reality check of where this team is at. Like, you got to come away from this road trip 3-1, in my opinion. You got to. Like,
sure.
But we'll talk about that in segment 3. You got anything else to add before I send it to break?
No.
All right. Deal. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com today to get started, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. That's what we're going to give the Penguins tonight, Scotty.
Oh, bang. Bang.
I hope they do, or else that's going to age poorly. Yeah, right. Scotty, they're going to play the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are down bad right now. And this is a team that they're in their 2012 to 2016 era Red Wings right now, where they're doing everything they can to keep things together with their aging superstars to try and make a couple final runs like just completely delusional that they have an opportunity to do something that they just definitely do not do. And they're 6-9-2, and they just got blew out by the Dallas Stars 7-1 on Monday. So you're the Detroit Red Wings. You're heading to PPG Paints Arena or whatever it's called, PPG Arena.
PPG Paints Arena.
Whatever it's called. I don't know. You're heading to the Pittsburgh Penguins Arena. You're going to Pittsburgh. You know, what? You're the Red Wings. What do you got to do?
You know, it's depending on where you look, the Penguins are favorites in this game. Obviously, they are.
Are you kidding me?
But that is that is, I think, a testament to how the Wings have looked this year, and obviously just kind of the Crosby curve when it comes to betting and the general public, but which is still very much a thing these days, even. So yeah, you should beat this team. They've already lost to Pittsburgh this year, yeah.
6-3 in the home opener, baby.
Yeah. So, oh, jeez.
Also, by the way, Scotty, that was
got
also behind Pittsburgh. That was the Pittsburgh second game of the season.
right.
In their first game, they got blown out.
That's right.
And they got blown out in the first half of that. So, history.
That was awesome. Yeah, this is a team that is really, really, really not good defensively in Pittsburgh. They give up a lot of goals. They have not had a very good goaltending situation. They allow a lot of shots. But they still have some high-powered offensive players, albeit older, like you mentioned, getting up there in age. But they still got some guys that can do some magic. But this is a team that gives up a lot of offense. And if there was ever a game where you would, again, like just with how much of a team game they played in both of those games over the weekend, if that can carry over into a Penguins team that is not good defensively, that would be wonderful. And I think that would all kind of make our shoulders a little lighter, you know, just kind of like, okay, you know, this is a team that has a bad defense and the offense went in and actually maintained possession and was actually able to do some things. That would be really nice.
This team is old and cannot play defense at all. Their top pair of Carlson and Letang, I believe, is the top pair that they're trotting out there. Maybe they've changed it since then. They're all offense. Letang can't, keep up with the game. Carlson only focuses on offense. Sidney Crosby, the two-way side of his game is completely eroded. Sam Malkin's never really had a two-way game. And don't get me wrong, Crosby's still very good offensively. Like, he feasts still offensively. He and Malkin lead the team in points with 18 and 16 points respectively, both point per game through the first 17 games of their season. They've played 17 games already, which is also wild because I think the Red Wings have, played 12? I don't know. But, Scotty, this Pittsburgh Penguins team, like you said, they get a lot of shots and they give up a lot of shots. Completely run and gun, abandon the defense type hockey. The problem, too, is they're not getting the goaltending to back up abandoning the defense.
Not at all.
Their goaltending right now, Scotty, Joel Blomqvist has had 8 starts this season, 904 save percentage, which is all right, especially considering, what's happening in front of him. Alex Nedeljkovic has an 8.82, and Tristan Jarry has a 8.36 save percentage in 3 games played. So their goaltending has been rough.
Dog, man.
I don't know, man. It happens. It just happens.
Goalies are weird. It does happen. But, man, people, you go back even just 2-3 years ago, you're talking about a guy that people, is towards the top, maybe not at the top, but towards the top of the goalie landscape.
Yeah. And the other weird thing too is not only so they lead the league in 5-on-5 shots for, and they have the most 5-on-5 shots against. So you're 32nd in that category, or you could say they're first in most shots given up. They are completely run and gun style. But then you look at their special teams, flip it on its head. For some reason, the Pittsburgh Penguins have the 9th best penalty kill in the league. Despite giving up the most shots in the league at 5-on-5, they have the 9th best penalty kill. And their power play is, I think, 17th, middle of the pack, despite having the most shots at 5-on-5. So I don't know what's going on with their special teams. But, you know, that feeds right into the Red Wings, right? Red Wings have the 8th best power play now as of recording this against their 9th best penalty kill. Their 17th best power play against your ranked 29th penalty kill. So special teams are really going to be, you know, going to figure out between the movable object in their penalty kill and the, whatever the other half of that saying is. What is it? Immovable object and unstoppable force. Yeah, unstoppable force. Yeah. So that's how the special teams are gonna play out. So honestly, Scotty, this is a game that the Red Wings, who play a really nice lockdown strategy in their own end, can win. But especially with how bad their defense and goaltending is, and they should win, I'm really anxious because you can never count Crosby and Malkin out, and they just got blown out, so they're gonna be looking for a little bit of revenge.
Yeah, I'm just not gonna ever go into a Penguins game thinking like, oh, confidence is never gonna be a thing. I think going into a Penguins game until Crosby retires. I think.
Also, it is PPG at Paints Arena. I was right the first time.
That's what I said. Yeah.
I thought I said that too, and then I was like, it's PPG Arena.
Well, you said like 4 different names, and then I said that because that's its actual name, and then you were like, whatever it is, and I was like, well, that is it. But okay, yeah, whatever it is.
I think the moral of the story, and we can all agree, is that I'm right, you're wrong. Anyways, Scotty,
that's how
even though I admitted you were right earlier in the episode and that I was wrong, that did happen, and it's on record. Do you have any final thoughts?
I don't think so, man. We ball.
We do ball. This episode is not a FanDuel Sports Network episode. Just remind you guys all that. It will be on TNT or Max if you have a Max account, which is how I will be watching.
That too.
So, anyways, see you guys tomorrow after the game. Same time, same place. See your team every day.
Every day.